for the prayer and pledge of allegiance. Our
Father,
Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, moving on to item C is approval of minutes from May 3rd, 2021 special council meeting and May 3rd, 2021 regular council meeting minutes. In the absence of any objections or corrections, the minutes shall stand approved. They stand approved. Item D is the Henry County Ag Improvement Association. Who would like to?
What do you want us to do?
This. Come up and sign in.
Leave.
Yes.
Yeah, TV on this side, so we're watching that wall, that's why.
Not watching us.
Well, if we're watching, you're watching that wall.
Likely story. While they sign in, I'll say thanks for seeing us on this
You are welcome.
project we're pretty excited about.
Thank you for coming in to talk about it.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming in to talk about it.
Yeah.
Would you like me to get started?
Yeah, do you want the full presentation, Joel?
Yeah,
Since,
actually,
Yeah,
move to the council president.
Sorry.
it's only what, 2.5 hours, is that right? Seven?
7.
Okay, yeah,
We
that's
break it into half so you can take a break and then come back.
Nice.
Bailey needs to rest, so.
perfect.
Well, there's about, how many, 20 slides?
Yeah,
Fifteen.
we can flip through
We'll
it
speed
fairly
through it.
quick, but.
Okay.
And I know you wrote down your information on there. If you could, just for the record, introduce yourself to us as you
Sure.
speak.
Sure,
Thank
so, good evening, thanks again for having us. I'm Bailey Elsinger, and my husband and I live in, kind of between Deschler and Malinta, and we farm down there, and I actually work as a risk management consultant with Stone X, so I'm a grain broker. So, heart and soul is in the ag industry. Both sides of our income is in the ag industry. So this is a project near and dear to our hearts. So last fall, a group of very passionate individuals came together. Actually, it was about fair time last year with our kind of makeshift fair that we had, that we came together and formed a group called the Henry County Ag Improvement Association. And our mission is to promote Henry County agriculture through community improvement and development projects. So our vision is a,
Next slide, Joel.
Sorry. Somebody was,
He was muting.
He's muting people.
so our vision is a community that's able to have pride in their agricultural industry heritage, the facilities, individuals, and youth that are involved in it. And our initiative is to construct a new building on the county fairgrounds. This building would be versatile enough to house and host events throughout the year. Everything from weddings and trade shows to livestock shows. So that picture there is actually of a building that was constructed in Darke County, so Greenville, Ohio, and it would be something similar to that. We're talking about 125 feet by 350 feet is roughly the dimensions we've proposed. So that's over 43,000 square feet, over an acre under roof. This building would be a new community event center. Our proposed location, nothing finalized, would be the northeast corner of the fairgrounds with easy proximity to 108. We would remove the existing livestock barns and show arena that exist on the fairgrounds today. And that, with our measurements, was just under 40,000 square feet. So by putting this construction up, we would pick up a little bit of square footage compared to what we'd be taking down. And this would be completely clear span, cement floor with a cement sidewall about 4 feet high, and all of the pens would be completely removable. So if you go forward to the next slide, you'll start to see some pictures of other buildings around the state and around the country that have been constructed that are very similar to this. So an open floor plan like this lends itself to being easy to clean and easy to transform. It also has improved airflow. It's improved, it's easier to accommodate all sorts of fair visitors and event goers of all different ability levels. So also thinking of wheelchairs, strollers, things like that. Speaking of the ability to transform, this is that same building in Greenville that within 24 hours was transformed from a steer show, completely cleaned out and put up to a hog show. So 125 by 350 is just over 43,000 square feet. Again, free span, all collapsible pens. I would have 8 by 10 foot rolling doors, ideally above that cement sidewall for improved airflow as well. So those large overhead doors on either end would also aid in cleaning. This is a photo of a similar type building being used as a riding arena. So some fairground benefits is it's easier to clean and keep sanitary compared to their existing facilities, increased airflow like I mentioned. Increased airflow is healthier people and healthier animals. That's something we've run into at the fair on numerous occasions. And an increased rental income. So here's some photos of buildings like this around the state, hosting large events like weddings, meetings, demonstrations, sporting events, livestock shows, vendor shows, and I think something that's ever present because of 2020, emergency needs. The next slide shows some pictures of a building like this being used as a vaccine clinic, a field hospital. You know, if we needed a field hospital in Henry County, where would we go? And I think a facility like this would serve that purpose. Large motorsports events, that's another one up there. But so we do have some key considerations. We have to have the cost of demoing the current facilities, removing the electric that's there, putting new electric up for campers that we would move. We also have to work on the legalities between the Henry County Ag Society, which is the Fair Board, and our organization, which is a separate, think of us as a school foundation that's kind of fundraising for the fair. So our estimated budget with the initial quotes that we've gotten is roughly $2 million. Obviously COVID and supply chain issues and input costs, that's ever changing, but that's a rough estimate we believe that would cover the bulk of the project. I think this is one of the most exciting parts. So when you think about potential rental income, nothing's finalized. I have to give that disclaimer, right? But if we were to rent it for $5,000 a weekend, which would be a very competitive rate compared to those around the state, and we could rent it for 20 weekends a year, that's $100,000 in potential rental income for the fairgrounds. $1,000 a weekday, and you rent it 25 weekdays a year, that's $25,000. If you could rent camper spots for those 20 weekends a year, for 20 campers a weekend at $50 a weekend, that's $20,000 in camper income. So we're talking about $145,000 of income for the fair. Of course, there's overhead costs, cleaning costs, things like that. We're not oblivious to that, but it is a residual income stream. The photo there is of Pickaway County. They label all of their buildings and list the features of those buildings on the website, and that fairgrounds is rented out, I would say, at least 30 weekends a year. I've shown, there's a Heritage Hall there that's listed on that, and my daughter has shown pigs in that at least 5 times in the last year, and I also went to a wedding there 2 weekends ago of a person from Henry County that got married down there. Completely clean floor. You would have had no idea there was a cattle show in there the week before and a hog show in there the month before. So it can be done, and it's being done successfully in various counties throughout the state.
You can have a chicken show and do the chicken dance in the state.
Yes, thank you, Joel. Very true. Very true. But I think, so I've just talked about the fairgrounds, right? I've talked about how we're going to use it as a fairgrounds. For me, one of the most exciting parts is the economic development it could bring to the community. So, like I said, in 2020, when the world came to a stop, we still showed livestock. We showed pigs, we showed cattle, we showed lambs all year. So I think some of these fairs thought, oh my gosh, 2020, and we're not going to have any rental income. The Pennsylvania State Show was at the Pickaway County Fairgrounds because Pennsylvania couldn't host it, but Ohio could. So all the kids from Pennsylvania drove to Pickaway County to Circleville, to host their event. There's been 2 new hotels go up in Circleville. They can't, they keep filling them up. One of the Michigan State Hog Shows was held in London, Ohio, because that was the closest place they could host one. You know how many times I've shown pigs in London, Ohio in the last year? A lot. It's not a very big town, but they have really great Cappy's Pizza. And I know that because I sleep in the hotel, and I buy the pizza, and I go to the Walmart, and I buy gas every weekend, at least once a weekend when we're there. So I think outside of just livestock shows, there's immense economic opportunity for our community with a building like this. So lots of steps left to go. We're just kind of kicking off the fundraising portion of the campaign, of the event. So with that, what questions have you got?
And I will pass along before this, Joel Miller, Henry County Chamber. We met with Fair Board last Wednesday to get their approval for the Ag Improvement Association to go forward. They granted that. They voted and granted that for us to go forward with our capital campaign to raise hopefully that $2 million. So it's good to have the support of the Fair Board doing it. And then the plan for this is obviously once those monies are raised, those funds in the building are turned over to the Fair Board for their use. And obviously we would keep up with helping fill that spot and other projects at the fairgrounds as well for the Ag Improvement Association. Move on to the next to improve that spot. And obviously you guys know economic development is one of the reasons why I'm excited about this. And I think it can be a boon for all of Henry County and really help out a lot of different areas. And we're blessed to have people like Terry sitting next to me and Bailey and the rest of this group because they know the route, they know the circuit, they are on the road doing these things, they know the people who want to book this kind of facility, they want to book this kind of facility. So we have it in already. We're not starting from new and somebody's just walking up and saying, hey, this would be a great idea, and then they don't know anything about it. We've got some built-in expertise already in place with people who do this every weekend of the year.
I was in Hillsborough 2 weekends ago. I was in Claremont County, which is southeast of Cincinnati, last weekend for my 5-year-old to show pigs. And she's got at least another 13 years of that. So I'd really love to drive to Napoleon rather than Hillsborough.
So where would you say the closest facility of this size would be in around Northwest Ohio?
So Wood County has a very similar facility that they constructed 3 or 4 years ago. It's a great facility. And they've actually lent some ideas to us. They've offered their support to us. I know some groups that have tried to rent that. The charge that they're charging for that is maybe a little more than some of the groups that are willing to spend. They've also got some additional features, right? They've got a prep kitchen. They've got office space in there that we don't necessarily have in our initial budget. So they can maybe feel that they can charge a little bit more for that space. So I think it would bring another competitor for that need to this area. Outside of that one,
Probably
Shipshewana.
London, Ohio, Clark County, Holmes County, Wayne County, Springfield, Pickaway County. We travel 3 hours every other weekend, all winter long.
Right. And there's not much north or
There's
west
nothing in
either.
Northwest Ohio. The one big cattle show that used to be in Lima, at the Lima Fairgrounds, the people that hosted it, it's a lot of work, and they don't do it anymore. And there's 3 or 4 cattle groups looking in Northwest Ohio to relocate. We have a small show in March, and we had 123 families here for the weekend.
Wow.
And if we had a facility, we could actually draw a lot more. I think the smallest show other than that we go to are 700 families. So, and that's just the cattle's. We went to South Dakota last year to go to a show. I mean, people travel all over.
So for the other types of events like weddings and trade shows and things like that, would there be ample parking at the fairgrounds or just park anywhere in the grass that isn't being used?
We would eliminate the existing barns. Those would be would have to be removed, and that would be turned into parking and camper space. And that would give us more space than what we already have, because it's so teed up and jogged up, it takes up too much surface area,
Mhm.
and there's too much area that's unutilized, so there will be more parking
Good.
with this project.
And that was one of the Fair Board's main concerns too, is when we talked to them, they wanted to make sure there was enough parking for their needs, along with the needs when that building is filled up. So,
Right.
yeah, that's definitely on the radar there.
The Henry County Ag Society currently owns a house lot on Daggett Street that they can't use because it's between Daggett Street and the current sheep barn. So if we were to demolish those facilities, it would actually open up any further expansion along Daggett Street to add parking or campers or other expansion projects. So another added benefit to this location.
And we should note too, that as Bailey said right away, that's the proposed area that we as the Ag Improvement Association has proposed.
Mhm.
Fair Board will have final say.
Right.
And that, that's something we need to put out there this is the beginning, this is what we would recommend, but Fair Board may decide something else.
So,
It's kind of my question about the relationship with the Fair Board. You don't foresee any problems?
We just had a meeting there, and they approved it, as soon as we were done with our presentation, we have approval. We have,
Four? I was
Four
gonna say
members.
4 or
I
5.
think there's 4 members of the Fair Board that are actually on our committee as well. So we have a great working relationship with them. I think we're in a unique position in Henry County because of our relationship between the commissioners, the Fair Board, and you all and us. Because of the way the fairgrounds is with the county, we all have to work together, and I think we know that, and I think we've got a great working relationship so far.
These guys invited Jason, myself, Glenn Miller to come out to Terry's shop, to their family shop out there, and Todd's shop, sorry. And hear the presentation from the gentleman we eventually ended up hiring on a contract to do the fundraising and go through the entire program. And they won me over that night. I had heard of it but didn't know much about it. So, yeah, and at that point in time, there were at least 4 Fair Board members there at that time that heard the same presentation. And as these guys said, they're in our group. So, that was what we told them at the meeting the other night. We want to hear what your concerns are. We want to hear, this is something that is a big project and a game changer in a lot of ways for this piece of land that is historic. We all have, memories of, how the fair is and was, and everybody feels how it should be, that kind of thing. So this changes some of that. It changes some of the tradition, but we hope to add new tradition and build new memories for the kids who are coming up. And Terry can talk on and on about, making that facility safer. We touched on it quickly, but, getting improved airflow, you think if you walk back through those buildings, it's not healthy for those animals at all. And that's part of the goal for this too, is, to save Terry from having to do a lot of vet work that week of the fair. And, when you get, something to come through, disease-wise for the animals, to make sure that is less. We all talk about having ventilation now for COVID. It's that way every year for the animals as they get stuck back in those dusty buildings back.
So that's my question, exactly. So to make better airflow indoors must mean that it's been going outside?
Well, the better airflow is, if you saw that picture, Joel, you wanna flip back to that, it's got the doors, the big windows and doors,
This one?
go back one right there, see
This
how
one.
those roll, so it's not like it's pumping that out of there, and it's a concrete floor, so it's not like you're dusting up that neighborhood or any of those backyards back there. It's just airflow, it's open, it's not blocked by trees, back in there.
It's not gonna present smells for the people
No.
who are living in the.
most of these fairgrounds that we travel to are more heavily populated around the fairgrounds than what we are. And these big shows, like in London, Ohio, it's right downtown. And Wood County is right in the heart of the city. And we at least, there's borders on 2 sides where there's not houses up against it. It's not gonna be an issue at all.
A lot of these fairs actually end up cleaning the floors with a Zamboni. It's just funny, but it gets it completely clean. And I tell you what, you walk into them when there's not a livestock show, and you would have no idea there was a livestock show in there.
And it's not like you're blowing this stuff out either. You saw the skid loaders, they're gonna run a skid loader through that, scoop all of that dirt or the mulch or whatever you end up using for this to make it safe for the animals to walk on, and you're taking it to the other side, you know, that kind of thing. So, you know, that's something that, you know, we get people together and talk with them about as we get a little further along and see where the location for this building would be with
So-
some of the neighborhood folks, and let them know that.
Two questions. If you build it where you propose and you want to expand it, how hard is it to expand?
So that's a
'Cause
great
by
question.
putting it in a corner next to the horse barn, you only can
Shoot,
expand
well,
it one direction.
So that's actually a great point. So the current horse barn actually doesn't have sides to it, and it's got permanent stalls. So
Okay.
it's really usable about once a year. We actually have a member of the Horse Council on our committee, and they're really excited to see some potential change if we get this building, some potential change in their building.
Okay,
That we could put sides on it, get collapsible stalls. We could basically make an addition to this building and use that for additional stalling for a big show. Use that as the show arena for a big show, install everybody in the big barn. I'm excited about that partnership with the Horse Council and that potential, again, down the road. That's not day one, but I think that's a definite area of expansion.
And honestly, Jason, anywhere you go on the fairgrounds, you're probably gonna be a little landlocked.
Well, I understand.
As
Right.
Senior
Yep.
Fair Board there,
Yep.
it's, they felt that for years, so, yeah, it's, I mean, that, these guys and their husbands have, you know, they sat and tried to figure it out for over
Right.
a year now, and, you know, wherever it's decided, it's gonna be the best of what you can get, you know,
Right.
at that point in time in a neighborhood setting like that.
the other question is, I know, Dr. Federkey and Bailey, you travel around to different shows throughout the year. Are those schedules kind of set? Hey, the first week of June is always here, the second week is always here. Is there places on that schedule for people to come this way instead of other ways? Or are we competing with a show that's been there for 25, 50 years?
Ohio Best Series hosts 15 shows a year. They're down to 11 because they had some drop out.
Okay,
People just don't want to host them anymore. And you have to have a host family to put it on. Well, we're committed, and there's people, other younger people that are committed in this community that we can pick up some of those shows that they're looking for. We like to pick up the one that used to be in Lima.
Okay.
That's Michigan, Ohio State Weekend, and it just falls in our place instead of Lima, which isn't that far away. And
Okay.
we would get into the schedule. So-
that's what I mean, is there room, you know, it's,
Absolutely.
lots of places like to have a NASCAR event, but they can't because there's no place on the schedule to have one. You know what I mean? There just
You're not
isn't, so.
wedging yourself in there where there is.
Right, that's right, yeah, I don't want to, you know, because we're competing with somebody, then, yeah. I'm sorry, Bailey, I didn't mean to cut you
Oh,
off.
no, that's fine. I was gonna say, our family's goal is to have two big shows there that we would host a year, one in the winter, one in the summer.
Okay,
Hopefully to get on the schedule. And again, if you're a dedicated family that's dedicated to hosting an event, they'll find a weekend for you.
okay,
2 points that are real important. We hired Matt Hughes out of Cincinnati to fundraise for us. He's done 8 other county fairs successfully. We gave him 60 names, 60 businesses and individuals to just see if the support was out there. He visited with 40-some, 42 or 45 of those individuals in the last month. He presented a preliminary report that what we need from capital, and from the capital fund, from the private sector, we more than have what we need for that portion of it for this.
okay,
And then we have to work with the local and the state specifically, which he has a lot of experience working with. So the finances are available if we go forward, so that's not gonna be an issue.
okay,
And when he went out there and talked to people, the community of those 45 or 42, whatever he talked to, there were 2 that were like, didn't really care. The rest of them are super ecstatic. So the county, the individuals that live in this county want this. It's not just us wanting this because of all the other potentials.
right,
And Holmes County, theirs is rented out 36, 38 weekends a year, and probably could be more, but it's weather dependent, and there's just certain times of the year you can't do anything except for our shows or an indoor wedding or something like that.
I think that's what gets me the most excited is when I talk with somebody from the community, just how, they think when you say we're a new building on the fairgrounds, right? And your first assumption is, it gets used that 1 week and it's gonna put some pigs and cattle in there, right? Take one step back and think a lot bigger than that, right? Think about an indoor tractor pull in the winter. And how many people will come and stay in hotels and order food and go to restaurants. Think about some of it. It's a lot bigger than the week of the fair. And don't be wrong, it started with, that was where our heart was, right? Something for the kids and the community to use during the county fair. But it's a lot bigger than that, right? The week of the county fair, we get to benefit from a building that benefits the community the other 51 weeks.
And I think the main thing about that is more and more, and you see the successful projects that we're getting not only here in Napoleon, but around the area too, those are ideas from other people. And we want to be a community here in Henry County that welcomes ideas, people getting creative with things, and also allows, us to get creative and say, okay, this is what we'd like to see happen in there as a community. So you've got that because you want to be open to ideas, you want to be open to creativity, you want to be open to, if you've got 43,000 square feet that's wide open, I'm not going to pretend that I have all the ideas for that. It could be any number of different things. And okay, we'll all work as a community to make that happen here in Henry County, and we've got the facility, you can do it. It's a lot like economic development on the other side. You put a spec building up, suddenly it doubles in size, and you've got 300 new employees in there. We've seen that happen. So, and it's because, that facility was there, that opportunity was there. This is another one of those kind of opportunities for people, I guess.
We have a board member who does the same thing we do with the animals. They go to wrestling. And a lot of their wrestling meets are in these barns. And there'll be a cattle show one weekend, and it's completely cleaned out, and it is doable. It's completely cleaned out, and the mats are down just like there, and they wrestle the next weekend in that building. And he does that all year round with his children.
If Tony wants to start professional roller derby, he'd have the opportunity to do that. It's a good idea. Work on it.
He could be a referee for it, too.
Yeah, he could.
Right.
He could. And I will pass along, and Ross knows, because he was part of it online there, that Chamber Board is committed to this, and we committed $6,500 towards helping pay for a month of Matt Hughes's fees to come in and do this, and he'll move. He was here for a month for the feasibility study, basically, which he provided to us and gave us the keys to making the decision, and now it'll go to the fundraising campaign for it. So we're committing to that. We don't have a ton of money, but what we have, we want to commit to it. So appreciate that. Yeah.
I think it's very exciting and appreciate all of the hard work that all of you put into it. A lot of times people come up with ideas and say, hey, hope somebody else can put it all together. This is impressive how much work you guys put into it, and traveling and getting the right person to fundraise, and you guys definitely have done your homework. I'm excited to see this happen.
We're labor of love, but
Right. Anybody else have any questions or thoughts or anything?
Just one, by the way, Ed, we've talked about this before. I really love this idea. I think you guys are doing a great job. I think your presentation is very professional, very well put together. And, you have a very nice pro forma too. It looks really good, and you have the numbers to back up what you're saying to show that the project can stand on its own 2 feet. Where are we at in your project timeline in terms of this? Because one of the things, when you start getting into design, I would just suggest that you get a hold of Chad, our city engineer in the back, Public Works Director, and Kevin Schulteis in Wood County, building inspection early. If you can get them in early.
The earlier you get them involved, the better you are
Yeah.
off. I've said that a million times in this community.
Yeah, and it's less surprises for you during construction and the project and everything, is assuming everything gets off the ground and everything.
We'd be 5 and 6 on this, wouldn't we? Building
So 5 and
awareness and
6.
beginning the fundraising.
Okay.
If everything went perfect, we would break ground after the fair of 2022.
And being right on by the residential side, just want to make sure that the proper setbacks are there too.
Right.
So, it might shift it just a little bit, or
Sure,
or
in the drawings,
you
that's-
you may decide you may want to turn the building or something based on that
Put it on
information.
stills.
And
Yeah.
that's why we would put that, very, it's not, it's more than a disclaimer, it's the truth, right? Nothing's finalized. All of the location and the, exactly how far away from the fence it's gotta be, all of that is pending city approval commissioner approve, all those things, right? We're just the idea people.
And we've been talking quotes and plans with local companies, you know, so now we're to the point where we can start raising the funding and it gets real, and then you go out and you get those hard and fast, you know, plans, and you start the meetings with Tom and you know, so on from the county and go from there. So.
Yep. That's all I had, just, you know, keep that in mind.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you
Appreciate
guys,
it.
thanks for the
Thanks for having
time.
us again.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And thanks to the committee for referring it up.
Yes, thank you. info@henrycountyag.com.
Yeah, if
If
anybody
you
has
have any
Ooh,
questions,
yes.
you can visit our website, henrycountyag.com. That also has all the sponsorship levels, pictures from the presentation, so that's where I would direct you to if you've got further follow-up questions.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item E, citizen communication. If there's anyone out in the audience that would like to address council on anything that is not on the agenda, you can step forward now. If you're on WebEx, you could put in a message in the chat, and we will address those. Okay, moving on to item F, reports from council committees. F1, Electric Committee met on May 10th. Lori?
Council President, we approved the BOPA recommendation to approve the power supply cost adjustment factor for May 2021 as a 3-month average factor, 0.01338, and JV2, 0.023968. And we also had a nice update and a little refresher on the efficiency smart program.
Thank you very much. Item F2, Water and Sewer, Refuse, Recycling, and Litter Committee was canceled due to lack of agenda items. F3, Municipal Properties, Building, Land Use, and Economic Development Committee did not meet on May 10th due to lack of agenda items. And the Parks and Rec Committee, meeting earlier tonight, was canceled due to lack of agenda items. Okay, we'll move on to item H, introduction of new ordinances and resolutions. H1 is ordinance number 017-21. An ordinance establishing a fund to be named American Rescue Allocation Fund as required pursuant to the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 and declaring an emergency. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
I think Kelly was going to take this one.
Okay. Kelly?
Thank you. This is when we get the money that we'll be getting into allocations that we have to spend by December 31st of 2024. We have guidance from the U.S. Treasury now. It's about 155 pages. We have our second series webinar tomorrow, and then there's one more series. And then Joel and I'll be putting together some recommendations to present to council.
All right. Thank you, Kelly. Anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to item H2, ordinance number 018-21, an ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum principal amount of $1,100,000 for the purpose of paying the cost of improving the city's public roadways, including American Road and Oakwood Avenue between certain termini by reconstructing, curbing, paving, installing storm water improvements, adjusting water lines and sanitary sewer components, and acquiring any interest in real property, together with all related appurtenances thereto, authorizing related supplemental appropriations and transfers, and declaring an emergency. Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, and I see suspension is requested on this.
Yes, that's correct.
Joel?
Thank you, Council President. We've been discussing for some time the options to finance the project for American Roads, the remainder of American Road, and the portion of Oakwood down to Freedom Drive. And in the end, after discussions, staff felt that the best option was to move forward with an internal borrowing from the Electric Development Fund. Memo was provided at the last council packet that gave a more detailed explanation of the different options, and in the end, the best benefit for the city overall is the recommendation to borrow internally. The interest rate that, no, we've worked with bond counsel to figure out what a 30-year interest would be on a bond like this. It's around 2%. So we estimated between 1.5% and 2.5%. If we went with the State Infrastructure Bank, it can only be for 20 years at 3%. Going with the Port Authority would be around 4%. So it's the best interest rate. Plus, you know, I likened it, and I don't know you weren't at the last meeting, but I likened it to the borrowing from your own 401k. So you're paying yourself back with that interest. So the recommendation was to move forward with a 30-year term and also keep some of the good terms and conditions of the other programs that are out there, like the State Infrastructure Bank. So no penalty for early payoff, the market rate interest rate, which is, I believe it's just a hair over 2%, and defer the first payment to January of 2024, and backload the payments to match the revenue estimates. So that's what we're structuring as of right now, and I think this ordinance accomplishes that, and also accounts for the transfers and necessary transfers and appropriations. The reason for we're requesting suspension is because of the timing of the project, so we can get the necessary transfers and appropriations in place so that we can get the contracts and get the contractor going. Without it, it would just delay the start date of the project, which I think for everyone's sake it'd be nice, and especially the businesses out there, to get the project going quickly. So those are the reasons. We did take bids. We got favorable bids now, and we're hoping to move forward on the project here as soon as possible.
So the electric fund is healthy enough to be able to borrow from, obviously. We've discussed that. Say in the future, 8 years from now, if there's some issue with the electric fund, would we be able to get a loan for the remainder of this to be able to pay that back?
A loan or a bond,
Or a bond,
and
something.
refinance in any way necessary? Yes.
Okay.
Because, again, built in, no penalty for early payoff in this.
Right, okay.
Borrowing from your 401k is probably not the best analogy, because Star is not paying us what the rate we're gonna pay ourselves. So that's, I mean, if we're getting 4% from Star, we're borrowing it from 2, we're not doing ourselves any favor.
Right.
But since Star is paying 1-ish on a good day,
On a good day.
and we're gonna pay ourselves 2, that makes a whole lot more sense,
Yes.
yeah. So,
No, great point. I guess I'm looking at it from the reverse. It helps both sides.
No, I
It helps
know what
both
you're
the
saying,
capital
I understand.
side
Yeah,
and
right,
the-
yeah.
And the electric side.
Right.
Because we're not making near that much, and we're probably, with a 2% interest rate, we're probably doubling the interest rate of what we're getting now.
Right.
Or more. So, yeah, great. Thank you for bringing that up. It's a good point.
Any other questions, concerns?
I'll make a motion for suspension.
Thank you, Ross.
Second.
Hey, Rox, please call the roll on suspension.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Okay, if there's no questions or comments, then Rox, please call the roll on the ordinance.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Okay, it has passed on first read under suspension.
You gotta hand it to Dan. He didn't have to read that at all. It's a first read. He didn't have to read it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you want to read that out loud once? Dan?
No, you're doing fine. I'm pro tem, and you're the president, and you're here. So,
And he's gonna let you forget it.
Okay, item I, second reads ordinances, we have none. Item J, third reads ordinances, resolutions, we have none. Thank you, Pro Tem, for cleaning that up last week for me, your last meeting. Item K, good of the city. K1, discussion or action, approval of power supply cost adjustment factor for May 2020 as 3-month average factor 0.01338 and JV2 0.023968. Joel, have anything exciting to elaborate on this?
Only good news, it's lower, our power supply cost adjustment factor is lower than what it has been in the previous 2 years, even though the usage has been relatively the same. So if you get a usage month, a higher usage month from 2 years ago, you can see the power supply cost adjustment factor was higher. You can see where it's lower now because of our the way our contracts sit right now for purchasing power. We're just buying off market right now because the prices are still low. So
And in return, that means our citizens are going to get lower
lower rates.
electric bill.
That's right.
Rates.
Lower rates.
All right.
You think that'll make them happy?
Yep.
I don't know.
All right. Could I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
yes,
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Okay, that has been approved. Item K2, discussion and action on PC 21-04 subdivision Re-Plat Majestic Heights addition.
So along Hurst Drive and Jan's Road, there's a lot that had a building on it that's been tore down. And all of these lots are basically 25 feet across. So they're 25 feet wide, and we're gonna combine those all basically into one lot so that the person that owns it, next to it, adjacent to it, can buy this and build a building on it in accordance with the building code. But this had to get replatted first, and that was the first thing we did last Tuesday night.
Motion for approval for that?
Appreciate it if you could.
All
Yeah.
right.
Motion. Second.
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
yes,
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Okay, that's been approved. Item K3, discussion and action, PC 21-05, final plat approval, Linfield Estate subdivision. Jason?
So, like the last one, this one was passed under unanimous support of the planning commission. The way it reads really, really technically difficult, but basically what it is these are the first lots that are getting developed along the high school by the old German Mutual building. So that's what these are. There are some that had to get recharacterized from commercial to residential. There's still more coming for that, but this allows that housing project to get started. Is basically what these are on the bottom of the page, and then there's that little section up there, about a third of the way across the page. It's also those to get this project started from the Goodville Insurance Company. So that's what, now, when Kevin had to read it, it was like he was trying to read coordinates from a game of Battleship. This has to go I-4 to G3 to, it was really complicated, but basically that's what it is to make these into residential places so that we can build some new houses along the Goodville property near the high school.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Second.
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Okay, that's been approved. Item K4, discussion or action, PC 21-06, replat of lot Morrow Hinderer and Patton Addition.
So if you can, we'll let Joel get kind of coordinated here, appreciate it. In between the China Dragon and, what is now Patton Cadillac, no. Yeah.
Snyder.
That's
Snyder.
it, Snyder, that's what I meant. I said Patton because it's
You
on the
said the
thing,
Patton.
but Snyder, yeah. What a lot of us know as the old TG&Y, the old big wheel, there are lots up front that, we're portioning off, basically we're creating four new.
Actually, four.
Four,
But
okay.
three actual lots and then the smaller lot.
For the Patton, the addition,
For the
right,
Patton,
yeah. So, they're gonna develop three individual commercial lots right there. You still have access to the rest of it off of, Trail Drive for the rest of it, but you have these three that can be developed. And then because the sewer line runs in that little, rectangle that's, I don't know, 10% down from the top of the page, that's gonna go to Snyder's because that's the easement for the water and sewer line that goes in there. And then basically have these three properties that can get developed as commercial places. Mr. Fisher, was here, he owns this. He also informed the planning commission that these three are all been sold. Is that correct, Mr. Fisher?
They're all under contract.
All under contract, yep, so, there's a lot of potential out there right now for these three to get developed. We still have access, like I said, to the rest of it off of Trail Drive, so a lot of potential right here. And also then it kind of squares up what Snyder's has, for their lot, so it, like I said in the planning commission meeting, it's easier to move vehicles to work on a sewer line than it is to move a hard building. So, this also passed unanimously through planning commission. I don't know if Mr. Fisher had anything to add or not.
The only other thing I would add is north of the China Dragon, there's a 60-foot right-of-way from North Scott Street also to the rear.
Okay. So there's lots of ways to get back there, so, but really exciting potential right here, for the city of Napoleon.
What are the plans for the lots, do you know?
I'm sorry.
The plans for the lots?
Well, they're zone commercial, so
Right.
they have to be, it's commercial enterprises of some kind.
Right.
Right, yeah. No, I'm pretty sure it's zones, they can't put storage units in. Okay.
No, they're not storage units, I can tell you that.
Well, what are they gonna be? No, I'm just
To be determined, to be surprised. Exactly.
So has Snyder's been involved in the conversation with this and understand what's going on and?
Yes.
Okay. good. No,
Yes, Bill Snyder and I have had personal communication regarding this.
Yep. Just looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Hey, Rox, please call the roll.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Okay, now moving on to item K5, discussion and action, the 2022 tax budget. Just need to direct the law director to draft legislation. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And Kelly, did you have anything to add on that at all?
No, other than what Joel has on the screen is the levies for the inside mills and the outside mill, and that's what the tax budget will be comprised of, and those are the estimates from the Henry County Auditor's Office. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Okay. Item K6, discussion and action, wastewater treatment plant Phase 1 improvements, contract amendment for construction phase services, change order number 3 in the amount of $175,000. Joel?
Thank you, Council President. I'm going to turn it over to Chad because he's put together a nice detailed two-page memo here that kind of explains everything. Chad and Dave, I should say.
When we started this project, we had initially looked at several different ways to do the design. If you recall, back in the beginning, we were looking at doing contract manager at risk, the CMAR. We ended up and didn't go that route, and we had a change order earlier to cover those costs. But also during the design of this project, we encountered several items that were outside the scope of Jones & Henry's contract. Some of those are outlined in my memo, including the rental of Balu Press. We decided to pull that out of the original contract, so that had additional engineering time included. The added coating to the EQ basins, we had to investigate that for filling those cracks that had formed. Rerouting the catch basin at the UV parking lot area. They covered all of our fees that we had to pay to Wood County. Those weren't $50 fees, those were several thousands of dollars in an effort to expedite the process, the review process at Wood County. We ended up and had to raise the headworks building, which wasn't foreseen. Not to mention, there have been numerous meetings on top of what we had originally planned. Basically, there was money in the contract to cover all of those additional costs. We do not have any outstanding invoices from Jones & Henry. However, the money to cover those costs were originally in the contract to be used during construction. Whenever we do a project such as the plants, we generically call them cut sheets. We get submittals for every single piece we're going to use, whether it be the re-steel, we review the mix design for the concrete. That's not too big of a deal, but when they start submitting presses or some of the stuff that Dave knows what it's called and I don't, that is something that can't come across my desk to be reviewed. That has to be reviewed by people who design treatment plants. That's what we need them for. And then also, when the questions come up during construction, with them being the engineer of record and having a better understanding of the treatment process, I'm not a treatment engineer, it's not what I do. We need them to answer questions. We have monthly meetings. I will have a guy on site, but we still need that support. I have a breakdown in the memo kind of projecting what some of those costs will be. We do have money remaining in the contract, but I don't want to come back again and ask later on. Working with Jones & Henry, we believe the worst case scenario with the $75,000 that's remaining on their contract and the estimated between 1,700 and 2,000 hours that what we're estimating this would cost, we came up with a number of around $250,000. In my breakdown, that it shows the hours we don't think we're going to be able to cover. Shop drawing review, we wouldn't have enough money to cover those 1,000 hours or respond to the RFIs. Request for information, that's what an RFI is. We wouldn't have money set aside for the monthly progress meetings, which we desperately need Jones & Henry to attend. And actually, they frequently organize those meetings on projects such as this. And we're still coming into the percentage of the construction contract where we usually try to be. We are still only billed hourly. If we do not use this money, they won't get paid. If they don't spend the time, they don't get paid. Before I brought this to council, I reached out to DEPA, and DEPA is our funding source. We got that contract last week, and I believe that it's all signed and submitted back. DEPA said any change order I have in the design contract can be used or can go under our funding. So our funding is 25 years. The contracts for 0.35%. Any addition to the design or the construction of it can be rolled in there, and they said just put it into the contingency line item. As I said, we will try to not use this amount of money, but I don't want to get 18 months from now, I still need record drawings done, and I don't have any money left on the contract. I believe this to be the worst case scenario, I believe, assuming we don't find something buried we didn't know about, but I believe we have a good set of plans. But we're requesting to do an adjustment of the $175,000 to their contract.
The engineering has really paid off for the city of Napoleon and spending the amount of time that we did. And it's paid off in terms of, I think, our construction prices, and I think will alleviate a lot of headaches in the future, unlike something that we saw like with the water treatment plant project. We do have like Adam Hoff from Hoff Consulting doing third-party oversight, second set of eyes looking at the plans. So we're just making sure something as complex and big as this project is for the city, just want to make sure that it's easier to change the lines on paper than it is when you're out in the field. It costs a lot more money. So with the water plant experience that we had, I'm with Chad that this is the best way to go to keep the project in order and in line.
So with the first item you have there, Chad, with the shop drawing review, 1,000 hours. So just doing, quick math, a 40-hour week for somebody, that'd be 25 weeks worth of work. I mean, do they have a huge team? And I mean, would that be something, who keeps track?
I think when I ran those numbers, I figured it would be 3 guys for about 6 weeks. So, or I think it was 10 weeks, we figured. I think it was 3 guys for 10 weeks. They won't all come in the beginning, but most of them will. They should be, we sent the contracts to Kirk Brothers, we don't have them back yet. As soon as we get the contracts, we'll issue the notice to proceed, and Kirk Brothers will issue their purchase orders to all the suppliers, and then all of those drawings will start coming in. When we did the water plant, I believe we had somewhere around 3,000 or 4,000 pages that had to be reviewed. And I think 800 of them came in the first week. It's a lot, and it will be more than one guy. They're going to have several individuals reviewing these shop drawings.
And how do they record that so we know that when they bill us by hours, that at $100 an hour, that we're getting what we're paying for?
We get, the invoices are broken down by the employee, by the hours, and by the task. And different employees are billed at different rates. $100 an hour is kind of the generic average. If someone's a PE, they're probably being billed out between $130 and $150 an hour. If someone is maybe a young PE or an unlicensed engineer, they're probably billed out between $75 and $80 an hour. $100 an hour was kind of an average. Troy Brammer, the PE in charge of the project, well, Dan Miller is technically the principal. Troy Brammer is the PE that's kind of the guy we go to. He will oversee his staff. Now, Troy would probably be billed about $130, $135 an hour, but the support staff will do most of the work if possible. But if we get into some of the finer details of some of the more complex systems, it'll have to be Troy looking at it.
Okay. Thank you.
But we do get detailed invoices each month.
Great.
Sometimes those are 2 pages, sometimes they're 10 pages.
Chad, when we bid this out, I know obviously Jones and Henry was the best, but hey, we added 175. Is that basically it's 1.4 million, 1.397, let's just call it 1.4. Would that have still been the best bid for design?
We aren't allowed to get prices for design. We have to do quality-based selection.
Okay.
I can say that having worked with many engineering firms over the years, they all have different price structures.
Right.
And they're right where the bulk are. They're the center of the bell curve.
Okay.
There are some that may be less expensive, there are some that are more, but their hourly rates are competitive.
Okay. The other question I had is, you know, I agree that it's really simple just to come and get one check for 175 and go do it. But obviously Jones and Henry knows that now too.
Yes, but we work closely with them. In fact, they had a site visit last week. Guys from Kirk Brothers actually made the comment that they were impressed with the involvement of the city staff as much as they've had any place they've ever worked. Because of our involvement, we know what Jones and Henry is, what they're doing. We meet with them almost every week right now, or every other week. We monitor them very closely. We're not going to be billed if they don't perform the work.
What I'm saying is we'd be better off giving you 100 now and then down the road say, hey, remember that 75 I told you I needed? I really do need it.
It's okay.
I'm just asking the question, you know what I mean?
If we want to do that, we can. I just didn't think it was a good idea to keep going back to the well.
Understand? Right.
That is definitely your prerogative. And the funding from DEPA is based on what we spend, not what we are under contract for.
Okay.
So overall, we're still, what we have encumbered based on contract and engineering, all the scope, everything that's all
We're still
included.
within the terms of
We're
the
st-
DEPA agreement.
And we're still 7% under what
Yeah.
currently of what's,
Yeah, these numbers were included in our calculation.
of what's built into the rates. So in case there is dig into something and you find something you weren't expecting, there's still 7% of that cushion for what we've built into rates and from what's approved with DEFA.
I guess I would recommend if we were to pass this today, then we have the water, committee meeting each month, an update of where we are for the 175,000. That way, you know, we can kind of see how it's going. That we didn't spend $80,000 the first month and then we're running low, but it'd be nice to kind of keep tabs on it as we go.
And we monitor the status, we get reports of our funds, and we monitor the status of where we are with our POs. Yeah, that would be fine, because we will definitely be keeping an eye on it.
That's a good idea. I like that.
I don't
Yeah.
want to come sit in front of you again and ask.
And I understand that. I do. I'm just, you know, we're just trying to,
Yep.
we're right, we don't want you to either, right? Hey, that's 175, I need one more. But if we can get some pretty good tabs on it through the water committee, that's a good idea. Just kind of keep an eye.
And I can work with Jones and Henry to get a feel for how we're doing with the different components of this. How many hours did we have on RFIs? How many hours did we have on shop drawing review? Just kind of, we don't normally track those individual components, but that's not hard to do.
Okay.
We could do that and see if our estimates are
Yeah, where we're
staying
at.
pretty true.
Yeah.
And that was definitely part of the plan. I've been talking with the committee chair about having more regular meetings as construction gets started. Actually, next month, we were planning on having a more robust meeting to talk about what to expect in the coming 18 months, 20 months.
Yeah, it'll be all of that.
Any other questions, concerns? So we need a motion to approve this today, or,
I think I'll make a motion that we approve the change order.
okay.
I'll second.
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Okay, that has been approved. Item K7, discussion or action, expenditure of funds for construction of thoroughfare on Sedward Avenue by Beck's Construction.
Oh, thank you, Council President. As we talked about in the budget, the Beck's Construction is extending Sedward, but since it's a main thoroughfare, as you can see by Chad's memo in the packet, the city reimburses the developer for the added cost for making it a wider thoroughfare. So I believe that's 33 feet instead of the 29-foot standard. So the additional square footage that's added, 2 feet on either side, is what the city pays for. So this is our proportionate share of costs for that portion of road. Right now, we're just seeking approval to move forward with making that payment.
With it being an expenditure over $25,000, I can't write that PO. That is not the final cost, that's the budget. I'm gonna write the PO for the budget amount, and then we will get invoiced once the project is completed. I don't know the numbers yet, but I can't even write the requisition without your approval since it exceeds $25,000. And legal recommended I do it this way.
Make a motion for expenditure of funds.
Second?
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Okay, that has been approved. Okay, we'll go around the table here, and if we start with Kelly tonight.
Thank you. We had our due date for utilities and the income tax today, and staff did a great job. That's all I have.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, Molly?
Yeah, the Wildcat looks really nice in the downtown, so thanks to all the donors and volunteers, and I think Joel and Amanda were down there super early, doing some power washing. The Tree of Life looks really nice downtown too, I checked that out. So some really cool stuff, the pool, lots going on there, so exciting to see. That's it, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jeff?
What's our deadline for Strong Wellstead Park?
First week of June.
Okay. Paving this week then?
I haven't gotten the schedule on the paving yet. They're still doing the concrete work, and they were putting water services on Park Court today.
Okay.
They have a half a dozen or so services yet to put in.
Okay.
But, I told them they're not allowed to leave town.
Good. That's all I have.
All right, Lori?
Molly and Jeff have both stolen things that I was planning to say, so I agree with everything. Thank you for the update, Chad, because I hear a lot about Park Court, of course. I just like to add, to Tony and all of your crew, just the parks and just the upkeep of them, and I think they're awesome. I enjoy them pretty much every day. And I just hope that our residents are aware of how lucky we are to have such great community to get outdoors and do things. And so, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jason?
On Mother's Day, we opened, or St. Augustine opened up their new building, their ministry center, so that was very nice. Was able to meet, Lori, I'm gonna mess this up, the most reverend bishop from the city of Toledo.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Bishop Thomas.
Yeah. Correct enough for a Lutheran? Is that all right? Okay. But that was really neat. You know, there's another example of people from Napoleon working together to put a building together, you know, for the betterment of you know, of their congregation or their parish. And that building can be used for all kinds of things also, so it's just really great. We should do some history on the Catholic Church, realize how long it's been at that corner in that building. You start to get really kind of amazed. So congratulations to St. Augustine on their new building. Got a call, and someone's got a letter from Larry Adams for the Memorial Day ceremony. They'll start at 10 o'clock at the river. We'll do the water committal for those lost at sea, and then we'll make our way up. And then the ceremony will start about 10:30, as it normally does, by the sheriff's station and the Veterans Park. I'm gonna go. I don't want to force anybody's hand, yes or no, right now, but I think they kind of want to have an idea who's going to make that. Does anybody know?
I'll be there.
Joe, Dan, Ken. There's 3. Lori, 4. You camping?
I'm camping, but we're
Okay.
coming back. We got graduations and everything, so
You'll be there too?
yes, I gotta support the Legion.
Okay. Ross? Can you make that?
I'll have to verify, but I'll let you know as soon as possible.
Thank you so much. No pressure, but you'll be the only one that wouldn't be there. But no pressure. This week, on Thursday night, Chief O'Brien and Chief Mack are doing a joint first responder award a night, so looking forward to that Thursday night, so that should be a good night there. On Friday, the 5th grade at Napoleon Area Schools is doing their DARE graduation, to help, try to solve some issues down the road by teaching kids about the dangerous parts of substance abuse. So I agree with Molly with the Tree of Life and the Wildcat getting repainted. Those are some really nice things. So a lot of things are going on right now. Obviously graduations and confirmations and all those kinds of things. Just take your time to kind of enjoy these nice days, and that's all I have. Thank you very much. Oh wait, I did have, sorry. I need a very quick executive session for person.
Thank you. Hey, Dan.
Well, thank you. One, it's good to be back here up on the table. I got tired of being back in the corner here, but it's good to be back here, have Joel back here, and hopefully next week we can have Kelly and, not next week, but the next meeting, we can have Kelly and Billy back up here as well. I have had a request from the police chief and the fire chief for a committee meeting of the Safety and Human Resources next Monday at 7 to discuss, now correct me if I'm wrong, safety service strategic planning? Correct. Is that correct? Yep. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but we will have a meeting and to discuss that. And also, Mr. Parks Director, it sounds like you're definitely making progress of that pool, just a slight delay, but making some progress. Correct?
We're getting there.
You're getting there.
You see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay. That's all.
Ken.
Light at the end of the tunnel means you're still in the tunnel.
I'm sure he's well aware.
Mr. Pike, do you have your fishing rod and reel all ready to go?
Yep. Gonna do some, a lot of R&R.
Enjoy. It's a lot of fun. Been there. That's all I have.
Ross.
Well, everything for the most part was already said. I'll just kind of echo Molly and Lori and Jason. I had someone last week ask me in one word, how would I describe Napoleon? And my response to them was alive. And I think we really saw that this week and the past couple weeks with the NAPMAS community volunteers, the people who went downtown and painted the Wildcat, the Napoleon Alive tree, the donations from businesses to support our fire department. And then we have all these local businesses coming together to support one another and rallying even now with this fairground project. So this is a community that's alive and thriving. So that's all I had. Thanks.
Thanks, Ross. Hey, Billy.
Briefly, it's my expectation that the allowance of virtual meetings under HB 197 and HB 440 will end as of June 30. And I don't anticipate any extension on this. As such, we need to plan to go back to in-person meetings under revised code 121.22 as of July.
Okay.
Thank you, Billy.
I have a mulligan.
Okay. Go ahead, we'll make Joel wait a minute.
Welcome back, Brian. Nice to see you again. Really nice to see you again. That's all I have.
All right. Okay, Joel.
Thank you. Fall Fest scheduled for September 11th, 2021. So that's new. Already mentioned Dave Pike is retiring. Everything else was mentioned. NAPNAS, thanks Ross for calling that out too. They did a great job on Sunday of painting some of our park facilities and mulching around some of the city facilities.
They did the fence outside.
They did
The
the
staining
fence.
of the fence, yeah.
Thank you. That's why.
Yes, yeah.
You can call it compensation.
Um,
too.
That
You
was
can call it
actually Rob Reddick and Johnny Kundo and Greg Merrill were out there. I don't know who else. There was a couple others with them, but. And I have a request for an executive session regarding economic development.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Joel?
That is it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, and I saved myself for last. That way I don't have to say anything because you guys all covered everything that was on my list. So thank you. Okay, can I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss compensation and personnel?
Second.
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Ken?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Lori? Yes. Jeff?
Yes.
Molly?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Okay, and I have a motion to go into executive session for economic development.
So moved. Second.
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Ken?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Lori? Yes. Jeff?
Yes.
Molly?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
All right, could I have a motion to come out of executive session for compensation and personnel?
So moved.
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Ken?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Lori? Yes. Jeff?
Yes.
Molly?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Okay, and can I have a motion to come out of executive session for economic development?
So. Second.
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Ken?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Lori? Yes. Jeff?
Yes.
Molly?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
All right. So, actually, we have two items that we didn't touch on prior to going to executive session. One, for the finance and budget. We can add the second quarter budget adjustments to that, please. Thank you, Roxanne.
You guys say come out of executive session, no action taken.
Correct, no action taken. Joel, did you have?
Yes, I do. I have one other item to discuss. Wait, since Tony's not here, I wanted Tony to be on the call, but
Oh, okay.
looks like he's not answering right now. Do you mind trying to give him a call? So, we were informed today from the contractors at the pool that they sent everybody an email on this, so hopefully if you haven't read it, you get a chance to read it. It gives a lot more detail about what's happening and what has happened. So as we've been discussing the pool project over the last several months, the target date was always to open on Memorial Day weekend. We had a whole ceremony and everything planned for May 29th. So during this project, we've had a lot of delays in material deliveries, products, whatever it is, supplies. We've been able to overcome all of these issues up until now. The biggest issue right now is that, Tony, I got you on speakerphone, but just going over the pool details.
Oh, okay.
The biggest issue that we have right now that we were just informed of is actually two items. One has to do with the paint, one has to do with the pumps. The starters for the recirculation pump are not going to be delivered on time, in enough time in order to be installed, fill the pool, treat it, get the inspection by ODH and the local health department, and get opened by the May 29th date. Also, in addition to that, and right before this meeting, I did get an explanation from Steve Truax, who's been our contact person for the project.
Astro Pools.
For Astro Pools. And basically, he gives an explanation as to why the delays for the paint at the pool. The biggest thing is that Astro was forced to change to a more expensive epoxy paint because the paint that was spec'd out just wasn't available nationally. So there's just no way to get it. So what they actually did was pull paint from another project that they're working on and use it here, a project that has a later opening date. So we're actually very fortunate to get the paint when we could, because that was the only thing available, was what they had in stock for somebody else. That was more expensive that they didn't charge us for. Not our fault, but again, they accommodated. However, it takes 2 weeks. They just finished on Thursday. It takes 2 weeks for the paint to cure fully. So a lot of that's weather dependent, but we had some cool days last week that cold snap that kind of threw off the timing of everything. So what Steve Truax has recommended is not to rush to fill the pool until the paint is cured, or else the paint could fail. Tony has experience with this as well. Just that when you paint a pool, you can't open it too soon, or else you get you get it to run a little bit, and people step on it, and then it runs and gets on people's feet, and then they step on the white, and then you get smudge marks, things like that. So, but those are the two things. There's some other things too. We're not going to have, I mentioned this before, the shade structures over the concession area and the kiddie pool area. We'll have all of the funbrellas except for one. Those are still, those have been delivered. Those are on site. We won't have the Chase lounge chairs. Again, it's an epoxy or a resin or something that the manufacturer couldn't get in time. So they've been behind, is what I'm getting at. A lot of that actually has to do with the cold snap that they had in Texas. Some delays and shortages from that, and coupled also with COVID. So those are two real reasons why that happened. So what was the other thing, Tony? The Chase lounge chairs, the
Windows.
Oh, the windows. Yeah, the windows for the bathhouse also were delayed in delivery, are being delayed in delivery. We don't know.
Those were the vinyl exterior windows. So if you drive by the bathhouse now, you'll see that there's still plastic up. Now, we did get word that they are expecting those hopefully by the 1st of next week, and they would be able to get those put in. But again, with all the delivery delays and those windows actually were ordered back in December. So that tells you what type of issues that we've been dealing with delivery problems. But we think those will be in. But the Chase lounges were ordered, and it's the PVC resin situation, as Joel mentioned.
Texas is a major supplier of those products, and those are just in very short demand right now. Anything PVC is in very short demand, and also very high priced. But we hope that those will come in by hopefully the end of the month.
Not ideal, but I think right now we're looking at a June 4th earliest opening date. I mean, that date can be decided however you want to handle it. That's a Friday, so 6 days delayed.
Is that enough?
Yeah, I would say, is that enough?
Depends on if that motor starter shows up.
Right.
When's that scheduled to arrive?
Neil emailed me, Neil's from Midwest, it's expected to be here the 24th. But we don't have, we can't push a button and check the tracking yet. I mean, that's what the supplier told him delivery date would be. And I haven't checked that this afternoon.
Is that the same supplier that told them it was gonna be there 3 weeks ago?
That's,
Okay.
yeah.
But I know, I'm just
The
saying
Russians, yeah.
that's why
Things
you're.
keep getting delayed.
It keeps getting
That's
delayed,
not
right?
only the supply, the manufacturer, it's also, I mean, we can't get mail delivered quickly. It's shortage of truckers and myriad issues.
One of the issues, Tony, you can describe this maybe a little better, but one of the issues was the dock workers in California had some of our materials sitting in a cargo hold on a ship for 3 weeks straight. Nobody touched it because they couldn't get people to unload it.
Yeah, that was the actual pumps themselves. We'll have 4 total pumps. One is the large pump, that's the circulation pump, and then the 3 other smaller pumps operate the plate features. And yeah, I mean, they're because of COVID issues that they were in California and they're stuck on a ship for 3 weeks, and so we were kind of worried about that as well. But those did get delivered, but then the motor starters have not arrived yet. So there's been a lot of when do you think we're going to get them type of situation, and well, we think it's going to be this date, and it turns out to be a little bit later than that. So yeah, we're just on a really squeeze on time right now, and with the paint issues and the motor starters, and then making sure that ODH approves everything last second. It just really puts us in a really tight spot, and we really feel like this is probably our best option, is to just delay it by 6 days, 7 days potentially, and not risk some failures when we've really worked very hard to try to get this done. And in the grand scheme of things, pushing it back by 6 to 7 days probably would be the wisest decision.
So any questions from anybody?
How do we start a project in January of 2020 when we knocked down the building? And now we're 12 days away from when we're supposed to open. And we're not ready. I understand COVID, I get it. I understand dock delays. I just don't understand. We've had this date on the schedule for a year. How do we not get this?
Sign of the times.
Yep.
It's a sign of the times. I see it every day.
So do I.
I hate to tell you, it's not gonna get better. It's gonna get worse before it gets better.
I mean, when you order things in December, some windows, and you don't have them by now. Yeah. When normally they would come in, 3 to 6 weeks or something? Yeah. Unless you had a crystal ball to say, hey, Texas is gonna have their issue, COVID, people are gonna stop working because they have enough money sent to them to not work. I didn't know this was gonna happen. I tried to order a mower the other day, and they said, yeah, July 26th would be the earliest because of a motor on the mower. So I thought, I'll call a different supplier. He said September to just get a mower. So it's everywhere.
One thing, I would rather, if we're gonna delay it, whether it's a week or 2 weeks, I'd rather see it, the opening be on a Saturday than a Friday. You know, it's really for the kids. And parents, a lot of them are working. I think it would just make it easier if we had it on a Saturday, whether it's the morning or afternoon, I don't care, but
I agree.
have it on a Saturday rather than on a Friday.
And I'd say it's a tentative date, because if things don't come in, we can't open. I mean, it's that simple.
Yeah, and I don't have an answer to that question either. It's just that I have to talk to the suppliers. I don't know what else to say. Talk to the contractors.
Maybe something like a tentative date of 6/5 or back up being 6/12, or trying to get it open as soon as possible, but from what I'm hearing, you never know.
No. It's pretty bad. I can't get 1.5, 2-inch, 3-4-inch pipe. It's gone. It's gone.
I know on the American Road job, before we bid that job, we issued an addendum to change the 30-inch and 24-inch plastic pipe to high-density polyethylene, because we were told if we bid it with that pipe, we couldn't have the pipe on site till mid-August. Anything resin-related is delayed because the resin manufacturing process in Texas, it has to be a certain temperature with seawater, and Texas is the only place that has the climate to do it, is the way it was explained to me. Now, yes, the motor starter is not a plastic product, but like Jeff said, and I mean, I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but I overheard Molly talking about delays she's experiencing with her project. It's everywhere. I don't have a good answer. I don't have one I'm proud of. But I don't think we want to open this centerpiece of the city when it's only half ready. That's just my personal opinion. It has nothing to do with my job. But I think we want to give to the public what we told them we were going to give them. And I personally would rather see it delayed and be complete. And I apologize for the delays. But I'd rather have it delayed and complete than rush it. And could we try to crosswire this motor? Maybe. But what happened when we burned it up? And now we got to buy another $10,000 motor. I'd just rather do it right.
I agree, 100%, Chad.
Yep, Chad, you're absolutely right. Excuse me. Joel, with that, I know we had discussed potentially doing like a free admission day. I think it would be a great, good faith gesture to the citizens if we could look into doing free admission for that first weekend, especially with this delay. We want as many people to be able to enjoy the centerpiece in our city as possible. So if we could explore that option, I would love to see us roll that out.
That can happen. I think that's a great idea. And in the code, it actually has the Parks Director can make that decision too. So if that's something everybody wants to see, we can do that. Would you suggest for the day or for the weekend? I like the whole weekend just because it's the opening weekend and it's summertime and kids are out of school. But
They'll probably sell passes that day too.
We'll keep it open for Pat.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We'll see.
Get a lot sold.
You get a lot of people in there enjoying it, and they may even say, I want to get a season pass. This is worth it to me.
Yeah, I agree. I would do it for the weekend.
Joe, I'm looking at the calendar. Father's Day is June 20th.
We're not waiting that long.
I-
We are not waiting that long.
No, I think we can get it open.
Okay.
First, yeah. Sooner we can get it open, the better. I mean, nobody wants
Right.
to hold off. It's, even the contractors. So.
Right.
Trust me, they're the ones that want to get out of there the
Sure.
most. And we want them out of there. So, it's nothing that staff did. I mean, Tony and Chad have been on these guys. Chad's got emails, to the contractors about, reminding them of, deadlines and everything. This is just one of those unforeseen things. Unless, Tony, Chad, do you have anything else to add to?
We're still even on this issue. We're gonna stay on and try to, I talked to the contractor today and told him I want phone calls to the supplier daily. I don't want to just wait to see if it arrives on the 24th. I want them calling every day. They said they would, so we'll stay on.
And I'm also on site every day talking to both contractors, and they understand the urgency. They knew that we had our heart set, and we really wanted to get that facility open on the 29th. But everything would have had to line up exactly perfectly in order for that to happen, and it just wasn't going to be. And like Chad said, opening up, not completely done, with all the time and effort and everything that we've done to make this the showpiece that we want it to be. We would hate to see it rushed and opened and it not be what we want it to be. And we think that we can make that happen in 7 days. No guarantees. We'll probably know for sure by the end of this week if we'll hit that delay of just 7 days.
That's honestly half my heartburn. If we're gonna say we're not gonna open on May 29th, I really wanna say we're gonna open on this day. And we can't say that right now.
Are the pumps the only thing that can delay this at this point?
The only thing we're missing that is.
You know what I mean? That as in, is there anything else that's materials that
The
we're
only
waiting on?
functional piece of the pool that's missing is the starter for the 25-horse motor, and that's the recirculation pump. Without the recirculation pump, we can't put, that's what circulates the water to keep chemicals in. If that's not in there, we can't put water in. Yeah, everything else is there, just that motor starter.
Okay. So that's the one tracking piece.
Okay.
I don't know if everybody had a chance to read this or not. Does anybody have any questions on it? Anything else for Tony, Chad? If you come up with anything, please email us.
Okay, thank you for letting us know. Appreciate it. All right, we'll move on to item M, approve payment of bills and financial reports. In the absence of any objections or corrections, the payment of bills and financial reports shall stand approved. They stand approved. We have a motion for adjournment.
Second.
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Joe? Yes.
Lori? Yes. Joe?
Yes.
Molly? Yes.
Yes. Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Are adjourned.